Do you think you know the story of the Garden of Eden? Well, it's time to think again. Today, we're diving into 3 common myths about what really happened when Adam and Eve first stepped into that lush paradise. And some of these might just blow your mind. Are you ready to challenge what you thought you knew? Let's unravel these myths one by one and see what the Bible actually says. Myth number 1. The forbidden fruit was an apple. One of the biggest misconceptions is about that infamous forbidden fruit. Almost everyone pictures it as a bright red apple. It's such a vivid image that it's practically etched in our minds. But here's the thing. Nowhere in the Bible does it actually say apple. All it says is fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So why do we think of it as an apple? This association likely traces back to Renaissance art and literature, where artists and writers began portraying the forbidden fruit as an apple. And this wasn't just by chance. In Latin, the word for apple, malum, is similar to the word for evil, malus. It's a simple connection that stuck, but over time, we began to take it as fact rather than artistic interpretation. The reality is, it could have been any type of fruit. Some scholars suggest it may have been a fig, given that Adam and Eve later cover themselves with fig leaves. Others propose it could have been a pomegranate, which was often considered a symbol of knowledge and fertility in ancient cultures. There's even speculation about grapes due to their association with wine and transformation. The point is, we don't actually know, and maybe that's part of the mystery. Perhaps the exact type of fruit doesn't matter as much as what it represents. A choice, a moment of temptation, and a turning point in human history. So, next time you see that iconic apple in a painting or a movie, remember, it's just one interpretation, not necessarily the truth. Myth number 2. The serpent is Satan. Another popular belief is that the serpent who tempted Eve was Satan himself. But the text doesn't exactly spell that out. Sure, the serpent is portrayed as crafty and deceitful, encouraging Eve to eat the forbidden fruit by promising that she will not surely die, and that she'll gain the knowledge of good and evil. Yet, if we go back to the original Hebrew text, the serpent is described as a creature distinct from any mention of Satan. The idea of directly linking the serpent to Satan really only took hold later, evolving in Christian theology. In fact, it wasn't until the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, that we see a direct connection where the serpent is referred to as the devil or Satan. But in Genesis, the text doesn't say outright that Satan is in disguise as the serpent. Instead, the creature is described as more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. It's important to remember that in the ancient Near Eastern context, serpents were often seen as symbols of wisdom, but also as chaotic forces. So, was it Satan? Could it have been a representation of something else? Perhaps a symbol of temptation itself? It's possible. While many believe Satan may have been working through the serpent, the Bible doesn't explicitly say, the serpent is Satan. It's a powerful image that's influenced by later interpretations and theology, but it's also a bit of a leap. By sticking to what's actually written, we open ourselves up to a wider understanding of the text and its mysteries. Myth number 3. Adam and Eve were kicked out right after eating the fruit. Most of us have this mental image. Adam and Eve take a bite, and boom, they're immediately out in the cold, barred from paradise forever. But when we take a closer look, we see the Bible actually describes a more gradual unfolding of events. After they eat the fruit, they don't suddenly find themselves standing outside the garden's gates. Instead, there's an exchange that follows. God calls to Adam and Eve, and in a strikingly human moment, they hide, realizing for the first time their vulnerability and shame. God doesn't immediately cast them out. He confronts them first, giving them a chance to explain and, in a way, understand the weight of what they've done. It's a moment of reckoning. He asks them questions, almost like a parent trying to understand a child's disobedience. And it's here that he outlines the consequences. That life will now be harder, that they'll face pain, struggle, and mortality. It's only after this intense, almost heartbreaking dialogue that God removes them from Eden. This wasn't a quick punishment. It was a sequence of events filled with sorrow and regret. So, the image of God angrily casting them out with a snap of his fingers? Not quite. It's more of a sobering realization and a slow departure. And maybe that's an even more profound message. That sometimes, the consequences of our actions are gradual and inevitable. And that departure from innocence is something we carry with us, even as we move forward. My dear friend, we must remember that even after everything, God's love never abandoned Adam and Eve, and it's the same for us. The story of Eden reminds us that despite our mistakes and failures, God's forgiveness is always within reach. He gives us new chances, welcomes us back, and turns our falls into opportunities for growth. So, if today you feel far from God, remember, His love and forgiveness are endless, ready to guide us back to Him, no matter how far we've strayed. And if you enjoyed uncovering these myths, you're going to love our next video. In it, we dive into another often misunderstood book of the Bible, the Book of Revelation, and connect it to events happening right now. Click here to explore this powerful text with us and find out what might still be on the horizon. And if you found this content helpful, please like and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring messages. May God bless you abundantly.